wonder murmur where whispers weave the heart.
Hello, little hearts. A new whisper begins. One sunny afternoon, a little monkey named George sat on a soft green cushion, his hand pressed against his cheek. His face was crumpled with worry, and a little moan escaped his lips. His tooth ached. He had eaten a delicious blueberry muffin for a snack, but now a sharp throbbing pain pulsed through his jaw. He had no idea what was wrong. His eyes grew heavy, and as he drifted off to sleep, a strange, swirling sensation filled his head. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself in a magical, glowing world. It was a cavern of shimmering white walls and pink, fleshy ground. He looked down and saw he was standing in a strange, watery land with a giant, white archway above him. His eyes grew heavy, and as he drifted off to sleep, a strange, swirling sensation filled his head. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself in a magical, glowing world. It was a cavern of shimmering white walls and pink, fleshy ground. He looked down and saw he was standing in a strange, watery land with a giant, white archway above him. He was inside his own mouth. Suddenly, a tiny, high-pitched giggle echoed through the cavern. He saw them then. Dozens of tiny, purple, jelly-like creatures as were dancing on a crumbling piece of muffin. They were having a party. "Oh, hi," one of them squeaked. "Welcome to the party. We're having a feast." Another one pointed to a sign they had hung from a tooth. "We're called the Bacteria. And if there's food for snacking, we're attacking." George's eyes widened. He understood now. They were the ones causing his toothache. They were eating his leftover muffin and making his tooth sick. He had to stop them. He rushed toward the muffin, pushing at the crumbs. The bacteria scattered, but they didn't leave. They laughed and danced around him. "This is our feast now," they giggled. George's heart pounded with a mix of frustration and fear. He had to get them out. He took a giant breath and blew as hard as he could. A gust of wind that sent the bacteria scurrying, but they clung to the tooth, laughing as they held on. Just then, a friendly creature with a long, swirly neck and a big spoon appeared. Her name was Noki, and she had a kind smile. "I can help," she said. "The problem isn't just the muffin, it's this yellow sticky stuff too." She pointed her spoon at the plaque, the bacteria's favorite food. Noki began to eat the plaque, but the bacteria were everywhere, and the party was still going strong. George looked around, his mind racing for another solution. What else could he use? He saw a strange square machine shining in a dark corner. It had a long arm and a bright light. It was an X-ray machine, a magical tool from the outside world. He aimed the X-ray machine's light at a stubborn piece of muffin. The light shone right through it, revealing a tiny, hidden morsel of food that the bacteria were holding onto. George reached in and pulled it out. But still, the bacteria didn't leave. "Oh, this is no good," George cried, his voice filled with despair. "My tooth still hurts. What do I do?" The bacteria all laughed together, a single high-pitched chorus. They thought they had won, but George wasn't giving up. He knew there had to be one more secret defense. He looked down and saw a giant object sitting on the ground, a familiar friend he used every single day. It was his toothbrush, and next to it was a tube of toothpaste. "My secret weapon," he cried. The bacteria saw the toothbrush, and their laughter stopped. Their tiny faces turned to a look of pure terror. "Run! Run for your lives!" They squeaked, scattering in every direction. George squeezed a glob of toothpaste onto the bristles and with a determined grunt began to brush. The toothbrush was a mighty broom, sweeping the bacteria and the leftover food from his teeth. The bubbles of foam swirled and popped, and the bacteria were swept away like dust motes. Just as the last of them vanished, a kind voice called out to him, "George, George, open wide!" He felt a gentle nudge, and his eyes fluttered open. He was back in the dentist's office, sitting in a big chair. A kind doctor was leaning over him, holding a small metal tool. "We thought you had a cavity," the doctor said with a smile. "But I found the real problem." He held up his tool, and on the tip was a single tiny white seed. It was a sesame seed. It was stuck right in your teeth and causing all the trouble. George looked at the seed and a wave of relief washed over him. It wasn't a party of bacteria or a crumbling muffin. It was just a tiny seed. The doctor gave him a cup of water and he rinsed his mouth, the cool water washing away the last of the ache. "No more toothache," the doctor said. "That's great news," George cheered. "So, how about another muffin?" he asked, a twinkle in his eye. He hoped he never saw those bacteria again, but he knew what to do if he ever did. And he knew deep down that the greatest secret to a happy smile was a little bit of magic called brushing.
Wonder murmur, the story departs, yet the whisper imparts.